Should we make a card today? What should we make? What should we make? Do you want to help? Oh, yes. Okay. All right. Let's go make a card.
Hi, this is Jenna with Brown Dog Craft Company, and today we are making some cards featuring the new Hero Arts color layering bold flower stencils. So for color inspiration today, I'm using new and old Concord and Ninth cardstock colors. So I showed briefly there the color swatches that I'm going to be using to make these cards, and I'm going to start with the first stencil, and instead of using white cardstock for the base, I'm going to use Pebble, which is a new Concord and Ninth ink. So it just gives a little bit more texture to the background, a little bit different look than using white cardstock, and it's just something different to try. So let's see. The colors that I am using, the color combos, are going to be, this is Midnight, and I'll pair that with Cobblestone, and then the flowers will be Clementine and Sunflower. I will do another one with Blueberry and Harbor for the leaves, and Sorbet and Grapefruit for the flowers. So there's the first stencil, and when I'm done, I'm just going to wipe that down with my cloth. And I'll jump around from card to card and color to color because the process is the same for each card, just using different colors for each stencil color, or for each card color. So here's some more Pebble. So I'm also using Sprout and Parsley with Aqua Sky and Peacock, and I will use Harbor and Midnight with Lemongrass and Avocado or Artichoke. I'll use Carnation and Briar Rose with Juniper and Peacock. So this looks like Carnation here. So again, I'm just doing a nice even layer. And then I'll add in, it's a 4-part stencil, so stencil A, B, C, and D, and they're labeled nicely on the bottom there. So then I'll add in, this is Briar Rose, so this will be the darker color. Line that part up. And so I did this for all 6 cards. So whatever 2 colors I was using for the florals, you do the lighter color first and then the darker. And then there's 2, there's like a leaf base, and I did that in the lighter green or blue, depending on which color I was doing. And then the 4th stencil, it does detail on the leaves and the flowers. So I did that in the darkest blue or green. And as I get a little further here, I'll lay out the swatch colors so you can see what they are. And I'll also list them out over on my blog, so that'll be helpful to see what swatch colors I used. So here I am back on the grapefruit base, and I'm going to add Sorbet. Some of these new ink pads are really juicy, so just make sure to not load up your brush too much to start out with, otherwise you can get some pooling on your paper, which I did get a little bit on with my sunflower color, but I think it looks fine in the end. So here I'm ink blending on my Altenew silicone matte, and I sprayed the back of my stencils with some pixie spray. It's just a low tack adhesive, and it helps hold down your stencil without wrecking your paper. So I didn't use any magnets or anything like that. So it was really easy to switch from one card panel to the next. and just kind of do this in assembly line style for all 6 cards. And that's sunflower there, and I'll do the second color in clementine. And now this color trio, or this color combo is clementine, sunflower, midnight, and pebble. But since I did pebble cardstock for my 4th color for the final stencil, I didn't want it to be pebble since it was pebble cardstock, so I did the darker color, which is cobblestone. Still in the gray family. So I think this is going to be my base layer. Was Harbor, and then Blueberry, I think. It's a really pretty blue color. That might have been Aqua Sky and Peacock. Yes, and then here I'll have, that was Harbor, and then I'm going to pull in the darker shade here next, which is Midnight. This ink pad was really juicy, so it went on really nicely here. I think that might be my favorite one. So here we're going to lay on the 3rd stencil, layer C. And from this color swatch combo, we're going to pull out Sprout. So again, I put some pixie spray on the back of this stencil. So that it holds down nicely to my cardstock there without having to tape anything or and then in between colors, I'm just using a microfiber cloth and wiping my blending brushes on the cloth so that I don't contaminate one color with the next. But if I'm going from like a light green to a dark green, I generally don't bother even wiping the blending brush off. Just if I'm going from like a darker color to a lighter color, or maybe, you know, a slightly different shade of green, you know, maybe like a yellow green to like a blue green, you know, I would either switch blending brushes or make sure to wipe off my blending brush really well. Just on that same cloth there that I'm using to clean the stencils with. So I think this looks so pretty when you pull that back, and this fourth stencil just adds even more detail. So this will add detail to the flowers and the leaves, and then add some little dots in the background also. So on this particular combo, or on this particular card, I will go to the next shade in green, which is Parsley. And you wouldn't necessarily think that adding green over the flower centers would look good, but when I pull it back, you'll see it gives it a different color than the green that's on the leaves and on the cardstock itself. So it's just a very dimensional look. I think that looks so pretty. And so then you'll see here are all the panels that I created. So these are all A2 panels, 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 of that pebble cardstock. And I repeated the same process for all 6 panels, just using different colors. I love how when you have a layering stencil, it really looks like you put a ton of effort into the background, and it really is so simple. So those are, you can see the color swatch combos in the back. And then I'm going to take some, this is champagne foil, and I'm going to pull out the glimmer system, and I'll be using, it's a Simon Says stamp foil and cut, it's a foil and cut set, so like a foil and die cut set. So it's called Delightful Dragonflies, and I think it was released sometime last year. So it's a set of 4 dragonflies. So here I'm just taking my glimmer machine and I'm laying down the cardstock and then the foil on top, and then I'm taping the dragonflies in place, pushing the timer, and then when the timer goes off, I'm running it through my Spellbinders machine. And then when you peel back the foil, you get these really pretty, delicate looking dragonflies. And so I did that 5 times. And then it has this coordinating die. You just run it through 1 time and it die cuts out all the dragonflies. So really quick and easy. So then I found this Happy Birthday die set from Hero Arts, and I'm going to take some coordinating colors of cardstock and die cut out Happy Birthday 3 times. So on this card in particular, that is midnight. But when I put it on the panel, I thought the Happy Birthday kind of got lost. So I'm going to die cut it in a stitched oval and take a little bit of the pebble ink and ink blend a little bit of pebble on just the outside of the white die cut, so it's not so stark white against the pebble background. And then when I put the Happy Birthday on the oval, it becomes the focal point of the card with the pretty background. So I die cut Happy Birthday 3 times from midnight, and here I've got a Simon Says stamp adhesive sheet, and I'm going to layer them together. You could glue them together. Either way would work fine. So after I've die cut all of the sentiments out and glued them all together, I'm going to add them to the oval. So the colors of cardstock I use coordinate with the colors on the card panels. So they're going to be Harbor, Midnight, Briar Rose, Blueberry, Sea Glass, and Peacock. And then I took Pebble cardstock, and I'm going to make some sentiments, some secondary sentiments for that too. So here I am, I'm just adding foam tape to the dragonflies, and I'll add foam tape to the back of the Happy Birthday, and then I'll either add foam tape or glue the dragonflies directly to the cardstock. I did each card slightly differently, but all with the same idea. They all have 3 dragonflies, the Happy Birthday sentiment with the oval, and then a secondary sentiment, which is from Mama Elephant. It's called Birthday Messages, and it's May All Your Wishes Come True. So here I am adding some foam tape to the back of the oval, and I'll put that in the top 2/3 of the card on each card, and then I'll add the secondary sentiment, May All Your Wishes Come True. add the dragonflies. I always try to overlap things a little bit and make them look a little more organic. So here I am, I'll show you stamping out the sentiment. So I used whatever color the happy birthday was in, that color cardstock, that's the color ink I used to stamp the secondary sentiment. So here on this card in particular, I was using Briar Rose for happy birthday, so I'm going to stamp the sentiment here in Briar Rose. And so I'll do that for all 6 sentiments for all 6 cards. Here I've just got a sticky mat in my MISTI, so it helps hold my cardstock down real easily. I don't need a magnet or anything for the most part. Now when you're stamping the sentiments, you want to make sure don't press too hard. Stamp 2 or 3 times instead of stamping once and pressing really hard. Otherwise it'll squish out your letters and they just won't look the way you want them to. So we had Briar Rose, Blueberry, Midnight, and then bring back the other panel. I was trying not to move my stamp if I could. That looks like sea glass there. And then we'll do juniper. So I'm just rotating my cardstock to an empty space, making sure I leave enough space to die cut out each sentiment. So I used to die cut them out. I cut them all out using the same banner sentiment strip die. One more, I think. And then this was in Harbor. It's a really pretty light blue. The ink will dry really quickly. It's dye ink, so you don't have to wait too long. I would wait maybe a minute or so after stamping before you touch the ink, just so you don't smear it. But it does dry really quick as it's a dye ink. So here's another card. I will glue down Happy Birthday and arrange the dragonflies. I put one dragonfly, at least one dragonfly, around each sentiment up on top, and then scattered them down on the bottom. And then to finish each card, I used Concord and Ninth enamel dots in various colors, so whatever looked nice on each card. So I've got pink and white and some medium green and some light green, and it looks like some sea glass and some really light yellow. I did trim about 1/8 of an inch off of 2 sides of the pebble background that we stenciled. So when I put that on a top folding card, there'll be a very nice white margin around the outside. A small margin, but put that again in the upper 2/3, glue down this little dragonfly sort of peeking out from behind the oval. And you could add any sentiment here. It wouldn't need to be happy birthday. It could be get well soon. It could be hello friend. This card could definitely be multi-purpose. And I know it's flowers, but I feel like depending on the color combo you picked, it could be a masculine card also. I'll put a foam strip on each of the secondary sentiments and overlap those with the dragonflies. So sometimes I'll put the dragonfly underneath and sometimes I'll put the dragonfly on the top. And I like that the dragonflies are in white. I feel like they really stand out with that champagne foil. I've never used that champagne foil before and I really like it. See, like this card, I know it's flowers, but I feel like this is maybe the most masculine card. So. And the happy birthday, when you layer 3 on top of each other, it's a lot easier than adding little foam squares behind such a delicate sentiment. So it gives you some definition and some lift to the sentiment. And by doing it out of the same color cardstock, it helps hide any imperfection. So if you were to mess up and not line it up perfectly, I don't think you would necessarily notice, since it's all of the same color. So I did these cards assembly line style, and I'd say they all came together in probably about an hour and a half, even with foiling. The foiling was pretty quick, especially since you have that die that cuts out all 4 of the dragonflies at one time. So mixing companies is a really fun thing to do, especially when you have a floral card and dragonflies from a different company and different sentiments. I really like the script sentiment with these backgrounds. It looks like they were made for each other. We'll add this dragonfly off to the left. And I repeated that for all of the cards. So thank you for joining me today. I hope you'll give this color layering stencil set a try, and I hope to see you next time. Thanks. Have a good day.